Welcome back. I'm richard.d.hall. I'm talking to Ben Emlyn-Jones, who was sacked from his job as a hospital porter. And you went to this investigation meeting, and they give you some reasons. It was to do with stuff that you had uploaded onto the internet. Now, specifically, they mentioned two videos that an anonymous member of the public had complained about via email. So they'd sent an email anonymously saying that they were not happy with two particular videos that you had uploaded onto your channel, right?
Yeah. There was a list of, in the actual email, there was a list of about 6 things, but there was 2 that specifically they wanted to bring up at the meeting. And these are the ones they consider the most serious. One of those was a video I made called Microchip a Muslim Day.
Right,
Comedy video.
So a comedy video you made called Microchip in Muslim, and it's parodying the Burn the Quran Day, is that right? Which just tell us first what the Burn the Quran Day was about.
A man in America, he's actually a pastor, a man of the cloth, clergy, organised an event in America on September the 11th, 2010 called Burn the Quran Day, in which he called on Christians to take copies of the Holy Quran and burn them as an act of desecration against the Muslim religion. It didn't catch on, luckily. I mean, not many people were interested, and he, quite rightly, and to be expected, he received a lot of criticism for this. And as is often the case, I think the best...
So what you were doing, you were basically saying, how ridiculous, what on earth would that person think of next? Microchip a Muslim Day.
Yeah.
So you're actually taking the mick out of that mindset.
I was.
And as you were explaining to me before, your channel is... You expect the people who watch it to be a little bit informed and understand the humour and parody that you're coming out with.
I treat my viewers as intelligent intellectuals, capable of more than one-dimensional thought. And the comments and feedback I've received from that video have been very positive. And the video has not been flagged, so there's no one... You know, you can flag videos on YouTube you think are inappropriate.
So let's just take a quick look at this video that the NHS found so offensive. It's Microchip in Muslim.
Did you have a good time on Saturday? Yeah, it was a Burn the Quran Day. Did you enjoy it? September the 11th, Burn the Quran Day. Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Oh, helps to remind us, you know, that Muslims did 9/11, didn't they? You know, it wasn't no government conspiracy. You know? Well, the reason I'm coming to talk to you today is because, basically, burning their books ain't enough. So that's why I am proposing, but you nothing, I've decided to get in front of all of you and try to make September the 17th, today, a Microchip a Muslim Day.
Now people, if you want to watch the rest of that video, you can watch it online, but we get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to expand on that?
Yeah. The point I'm wanting to make in this video, and I think I make very successfully, I think it's not very subtle, I think it's a very blatant satire. And that is that Muslims are currently being used in this world, and especially no more so than in Britain, as targets of what David Icke calls problem, reaction, solution. In other words, policies can be brought in because they're portrayed by the government as solutions to problems that have either exist naturally or have been created artificially. And Muslims at the moment are being used an awful lot for these kind of actions. And you know, there's the microchipping is one of the things that the government is planning to do, and we know this. There are documents which prove that they are planning situations where they can actually get people to put electronic implants into their bodies, usually inserted under the skin, which can be used for a very, very wide variety of purposes. Everything from buying things from your local shop to keeping an eye on you if you're on probation from jail. And the consequences of this could be terrible, and the implications in terms of civil liberties are really quite horrific. And what's I think is going on at the moment is that the government is saying, well, let's just give these implants to people like these
prisoners or
terror suspects, the homeless.
Yeah.
You know, you keep an eye on them, find out, make sure they're all right. Put them in children, you'll never lose your kid again. I mean, they're already doing it to dogs. You put a microchip in a dog or cat, and it makes it a lot easier to find them. And there's always a good reason for this. They always think of some good reason to sweeten the pill, you know. But the CCTV cameras will make you safer, you know.
Yeah.
Use fingerprints instead of your keys, and it's so much more convenient, you know. And
So you were combining this, your distaste at the Burna Karande with your distaste for chipping of the population to say that this is what they're going to try next, kind of thing. So it's as you say, comedy, which obviously the NHS didn't find funny, or allegedly didn't find funny. Now the other video that was named as being unsuitable was you advertising David Icke's new book.
yes, I hope David appreciates the free advertising. But David brought a book out. Now this is a much older video that goes back many months before. It's called David Icke's new book, and it's about a book he's written called Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More. I decided to give David a bit of free advertising because, you know, I like the guy, I admire him, I think he deserves it. So what I did was I parodied the cover picture on one of David's previous titles, which is called I Am Me, I Am Free, in which David appears naked with a big sticker over the old mid-wicket. Because it's not suitable to show these parts of the body, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll do the same. And so I appeared naked on this video with a book, strategically placed.
I am me, I am free. Well, no, actually, this is Human Race, Get Off Your Knees, The Lion Sleeps No More, the new book by David Icke. It's available now at all good bookshops, priced £20. Or you can order it direct by going to davidicke.com and following the link for David Icke books, or you can just click the link in the description box. It's a big book, which is just as well when you think about it. Hospital Porter's Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order.
Now, you don't actually see much more of me in this video than you would if you saw me in my swimming trunks at the beach. But this was one of the videos that was allegedly complained about.
Okay. Right. Now, so they were the only two things that they said at this initial investigation.
The initial investigation meeting.
But to this day, you don't know who was behind that complaint. It was a totally anonymous email.
No idea.
And they did not show you the email address.
No.
Right. So you then suspended after that point.
I should, but there's several other things happened before then.
Right.
Well, I was suspended before then. I was suspended a week earlier.
Yeah,
but
right.
what happened next was they then made another allegation against me, which is the most hurtful and most serious allegation of all, and the one that I resent the most. And this is what I think made me sit up and question, because at that point I wasn't quite sure where I stood with these people. Still wasn't quite sure exactly what was going on. I hadn't thought yet about appearing in the newspapers. It hadn't quite occurred to me yet. But they said that I'd been bullying another member of staff. The reason they said this was because I produced a video with a friend of mine, another porter, who's a good friend of mine. We're still good friends. It was actually called Porters, and it was a kind of a comedy interview between me and him, a discussion, rather like the one we're having now.
Right.
It was a video we both chose to make for our own mutual amusement, and we both decided this would go up on YouTube on my channel.
Right.
Now, what happened was, the reason I was accused of bullying this man is because this man happens to suffer from a minor learning difficulty, and he is officially registered as a vulnerable adult. And because of this, and this alone, not because of any complaint from him or from anyone in his family, the hospital management reduced this to a case of me basically happy slapping him.
Right.
Which is ludicrous.
But the original complaint did not refer to that particular video. It was,
no.
So the hospital trust, they've got this complaint. They've then looked at some other videos on your website and said, well, we don't like that one either, kind of thing. Well,
this is what they claimed, said. But the truth of the matter is, they already knew those videos were there. But that's a bigger subject. But what was contained in the email was a number of points. But then they added more on the trust added more of the videos on and other items as well.
So just give us the gist of this Porter's video. What was the point you were making in that?
There was no real point to it. It was a comedy version of what we're doing now, where we just ask each other questions and tell each other jokes.
Right. So there was nothing confidential revealed about the NHS or patients or anything like that?
Absolutely
there was nothing said that would be considered illegal or immoral or anything like that?
No, definitely not.
Right.
In fact, I mean, even though I do bring my work into my activities, I mean, calling it Hospital Porters Against the New World Order, I make videos about portering, and I make statements about the portering and about hospital life. I'm very, very strict. I'm well aware of the rules against breaching confidentiality and defamation, direct defamation of individuals and organisations. I'm very, very careful to avoid those things, and I always have avoided them.
Mm-hmm. Now, they referred to the NHS disciplinary handbook because obviously this is what they would use to say that someone's committed gross misconduct. So they were saying that you had committed gross misconduct at this.
This is a funny thing because I did not commit gross misconduct, and gross misconduct has specific definitions.
Did they allege that you had committed gross misconduct?
No, they did not. This
Right.
is what's strange. Gross misconduct would be something that is so terrible that you would be immediately suspended and probably sacked.
Yeah, like stealing money or...
Slapping a patient.
Yeah.
Turning up for work drunk.
Yeah. Now, but they referred you to this handbook, and you looked up the section on... Because they said it was to do with your conduct outside of work.
Yes.
Yeah? So there's a section in the handbook which explains what would be bad conduct outside of work.
Yes.
Just tell us what that says.
I read this section very carefully, and it referred only to criminal activity.
Right.
The only time you would, the only precedent in the handbook for suspending or dismissing a member of staff for conduct outside work would be if they were charged with a criminal offence that was directly related to their ability to perform their duties. Mm-hmm. For example, and this actually happened a couple of years ago, if a member of staff was charged with abusing a child, you would not allow that. It would be unsafe, and quite reasonably, it's quite fair enough, to allow that member of staff near patients, especially young patients. So
just define, Ben, how they worded the reason for you being suspended.
The reason I was suspended was it was under the category of conduct outside work, unprofessional, offensive, and inappropriate conduct outside my working hours that calls into question my ability to perform my duties without prejudice, right, and may possibly bring the hospital trust into disrepute.
Right, okay.
And this was so serious. I mean, you see, again, this is not gross misconduct. I hadn't committed an act of gross misconduct.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, at that time, at that point, is that when they asked you to remove certain material?
Yeah,
So they've said, look, you can rectify this if you take down certain material. This was at this first investigation.
Well, I've actually should correct something that I've said before, because I said that they made me a deal, but that's actually not specifically the case. Right. They never promised anything, but they asked me if I'd remove certain videos. Now,
right.
This is towards the end of the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
If you would remove certain videos, and did they specify which ones?
Yeah, they specified certain material, which they then expanded on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very, very strange conversation, which I found quite hard to follow. But they said, first of all, they wanted to remove the videos that had been complained about, plus several others, and then
references to the use of the word hospital porter.
Well, to begin with, they just wanted the Microchip and Muslim, the David Icke books, and a number of videos I filmed wearing my uniform.
Right.
Which was there's one called Dignity Statements. There's several. There's one called the St Theo's Day Report, which I filmed in the Hospital Social Club, where several people have their uniforms on. They wanted me to remove these, but then later on, then I went out to discuss it. I went out of the room to discuss it with my shop steward. I came back in, and then they started complaining about the fact that I used the word hospital and portering in so many of my videos and blog articles, and the fact that my whole blog is called Hospital Porters Against the New World Order, and I have a link in the links column on the blog to a recruitment site for the NHS Hospital Portering Service, and they even complained about that. And then by then I'd started to get suspicious. And I was remembering that I'd appeared in the newspapers recently. I was remembering what has happened to other people in their professional lives who discuss this kind of subjects that I'm discussing. People like Tony Farrell, Kevin Annett, Gary Heseltine. And then I began to wonder what was going on here.
So you began to suspect that these newspaper articles that we discussed earlier possibly triggered this complaint.
Yes.
But you even now think that even you appearing in these news articles was possibly orchestrated by someone who we know.
Well, that's a theory I've not made my mind up about, but there's no doubt in my mind at all that this is directly related to...
And the complainant, there was no name given, and apparently they don't have to give a name.
No. And...
So how do you know if that's a genuine complaint if they don't give the person's name? That seems to me to be wrong.
There's no way of knowing directly at all. I mean, the only thing you can go on is whether the circumstances of the complaint actually match up with what would be considered valid. For instance, I mean, I'm not the kind of person who just cries conspiracy at every problem that comes into my life. I don't do that unless I think there's good reason for doing that. Mm-hmm. Now, honestly, to be honest, if these were videos that I'd had up online, in one case for over a year, and in another case, over 2 years. These were all videos that I had uploaded over a period. And I've been, like I said, I've been doing Hapanmo since 2006, as we said at the beginning. I've been doing Hapanmo TV for nearly as long as that. I make absolutely no secret of it at work at all. I always talk to my colleagues about it, including people who are in senior managerial grades. And in all that time, after several 100,000 people have read the blog and watched the videos, many, at least, I've never once had a complaint. In fact, I've never even had an informal, no one has even informally advised me on the material I upload to my website, which has led me to consider they don't have a problem with it. And in fact, if they'd had a problem with it, what would have happened was, what should have happened under normal procedure, normal practice, would be that soon after I uploaded the video, for instance, the Microchip and Muslim Day video, soon after I uploaded that, my boss would approach me informally and say, we don't think this is appropriate. Could you take it down? They'd be diplomatic about it. Because I got on well with my bosses, and they always respected me. They knew I was a good worker. If they had some criticism of me, they would approach me informally and diplomatically. Mm-hmm. It's not normal to suspend someone for something like this, because if you're an employer and you don't suspend people unless you have to, because it generates an awful lot of paperwork. Yeah. It's hard. It's labour intensive. It's expensive.
All right, then we'll hold it there, because you then had a hearing this year on the 6th of January. We'll discuss that after this.
In May 2012, Richard.d.hall will be speaking throughout the UK and Ireland. Ticket and venue details can be found on the richplanet.net website.